What a difference a few years can make. Think back to 2021. Remember the constant drumbeat from media pundits, politicians, and health officials telling you that your personal choice ended where their fear began? Remember being told that bodily autonomy was a selfish, reckless talking point when it came to a vaccine? They wanted to force you to take a jab, get you fired if you refused, and kick you out of society if you dared to question the mandates. Now, fast forward to today. The same people, the very same political class and activist groups, are marching in Florida, screaming at the top of their lungs about choice. They're waving signs about bodily autonomy, and they're doing it to defend the legal right to end the life of an unborn child. The hypocrisy is so thick you could cut it with a knife. They believe they have the ultimate say over their bodies when it comes to ending a life, but you weren't allowed that same say over yours just a few years ago. Let's talk about the irony. Let's break down the hypocrisy. First, let's get the context, because it's everything here. The battleground is Florida. On one side, you have a state government pushing for more medical freedom. In September 2025, Governor Ron DeSantis and his Surgeon General, Dr. Joseph Ladapo, announced a plan to make Florida the first state to end all vaccine mandates, including those for public schools. Ladapo has been blunt, stating every mandate is wrong and drips with disdain and slavery, and that parents should have the power to decide what goes into their children's bodies. The governor has said the goal is to get government out of your life by pushing a broad medical freedom package. This is the consistent conservative position. Your health decisions are yours to make with your family and doctor. Government coercion has no business being there. Now, let's flip the coin. At the exact same time, Florida is ground zero for the abortion debate. The state's Heartbeat Protection Act went into effect in May 2024. It limits most abortions after detection of fetal cardiac activity, which happens around 6 weeks. The law does have narrow exceptions for the life of the mother and for fatal fetal abnormalities, and it allows exceptions for rape, incest, or human trafficking up to 15 weeks of pregnancy. The reaction from the left has been nothing short of explosive. They pushed an initiative, Amendment 4, to change the Florida Constitution and create a right to abortion up to viability, a vague term that usually means around 24 weeks. The amendment failed in the November 2024 election, getting only 57% of the vote when it needed a 60% supermajority. But it's the arguments they used that reveal the hypocrisy. The entire campaign was built on bodily autonomy and government interference. They argued that no law should ever prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict a woman's choice. See the double standard? When it came to the COVID vaccine, your bodily autonomy was a public health threat. Your choice was selfish. Government interference wasn't just an option, it was a moral duty. Media figures and politicians demanded people be fired, kicked out of restaurants, and treated like second-class citizens for making a personal medical choice. They celebrated companies that forced mandates and shamed those that didn't. Suddenly, your body wasn't your choice. It was treated like public property to be managed by the state for the greater good. But now, in Florida, that entire way of thinking has been thrown out the window. The greater good is gone. The idea that one person's choice could affect another is suddenly irrelevant. When the topic is abortion, bodily autonomy is a sacred, absolute right. Government interference is no longer a tool for public health. It's a tyrannical attack on freedom. The progressive argument, the one they use to scream hypocrisy at conservatives, is built on a fundamentally dishonest idea. They want you to believe that deciding to get a vaccine and deciding to have an abortion are the same, morally and philosophically. This isn't just wrong, it's a deliberate distortion of reality. And it completely falls apart with one simple, undeniable fact. Abortion involves a second body. It involves a second human life. Let's be crystal clear. The conservative position isn't contradictory, it's consistent. It's based on protecting human life. From a conservative viewpoint, the government's job is to protect the unalienable rights of its citizens, and the first right is the right to life. A vaccine mandate is government overreach because it forces a medical procedure on you against your will. It's an intrusion on your control over your own body. Abortion is entirely different. It's not an action that happens in a vacuum, affecting only one person. It's an action that intentionally ends the life of a separate, distinct, and living human being. From the moment of conception, a unique genetic code exists. There is electrical activity in the developing heart, which Florida law recognizes as a heartbeat for legal purposes at around 6 weeks. The argument isn't about choice versus no choice. The argument is about what is being chosen. A conservative supports your right to choose what you eat, drink, and what medical care you accept or decline for yourself. But that freedom doesn't give you the right to harm another innocent person. We all get this in every other part of life. Your freedom of choice doesn't give you the right to end your neighbor's life. So why does this principle disappear when the life in question is the most vulnerable and defenseless among us? The liberal position requires you to ignore the biological reality of a unique human life starting at conception. They have to reduce a living human being to a clump of cells, or just a part of the woman's body, like a tonsil that can be removed at will. They have to dehumanize the unborn, because if you acknowledge their humanity, then abortion is no longer about bodily autonomy. It becomes an act of violence. This is the intellectual and moral sleight of hand at the heart of their hypocrisy. They only apply the principle of bodily autonomy when it fits their political agenda, and they can only do it by pretending a second human life doesn't exist. This debate is bigger than just Florida. It's about a fundamental disagreement over what liberty even means. The progressive left has redefined liberty to mean autonomy without responsibility. It's a self-centered vision of freedom, where personal desire is the only moral compass and any constraint, whether it's biology, morality, or the rights of another human being, is seen as oppression. When they demanded vaccine mandates, they were operating from a collectivist worldview. In their minds, the individual is less important than the group. Your rights, your choices, and your body were all secondary to the needs of the collective as defined by them. You were just a gear in the machine, and if you didn't do as you were told, you had to be forced into compliance. Yet, when it comes to abortion, they pivot to a radical, hyper-individualistic argument. Suddenly, the collective disappears. The impact on society, our moral fabric, the fundamental duty to protect life, none of it matters. The only thing that matters is the absolute, unrestricted will of one person. In their view, the unborn child has no rights, the father has no say, and society has no legitimate interest. That's not a consistent philosophy of freedom. It's a philosophy of convenience. It's a political weapon, sharpened on one side to enforce conformity and on the other to demand autonomy, all depending on the issue. The conservative vision of liberty is different. It's liberty with responsibility. It recognizes that our rights aren't absolute if they infringe on the rights of others. True freedom isn't the power to do whatever you want, whenever you want. It's the freedom to act morally and justly within a framework that respects the rights of every individual, from conception to natural death. What's happening in Florida is a microcosm of this larger battle for the soul of America. Do we believe in a liberty that's rooted in truth and the protection of the innocent? Or do we embrace a counterfeit liberty that's just a flimsy excuse for personal convenience and raw power? Conservatives in Florida are drawing a line in the sand. They are arguing that you can and must support medical freedom and parental rights while also standing for the sanctity of life. These aren't contradictory positions. They are two sides of the same coin of authentic liberty. One protects you from government overreach. The other uses the proper authority of governments to protect a life that cannot protect itself. The irony is staggering. The hypocrisy is blatant. The same voices that told you your body, your choice, was a dangerous lie during the pandemic are now yelling it as the highest moral good in the abortion debate. They lectured an entire nation about social responsibility to enforce mandates, only to abandon those principles to justify ending a human life. They want you to think conservatives are the ones contradicting themselves. They are not. The conservative position has been clear and consistent. We stand for life, and we stand for liberty. We believe in protecting you from government mandates, and we believe in protecting the unborn from violence. The real contradiction lies with the left. Their definition of choice and bodily autonomy changes with the political winds. It's a tool to be used, not a principle to be honored. It's a slogan to be shouted, not a truth to be lived. They demanded control over your body for the sake of the group, and now they demand the power to end the life of another for the sake of one individual. You simply can't have it both ways. The next time you hear someone use the phrase bodily autonomy to defend abortion, ask them where that principle was in 2021. Ask them why their belief in choice only seems to apply when an innocent life is on the line. If you see the hypocrisy, if you believe that true liberty means protecting all lives, not just the convenient ones, then share this message. Leave a comment and tell us what bodily autonomy truly means. It's time to call out this double standard and stand up for a consistent vision of freedom.